friends, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and for being here today. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 healthy habit or mindset changes that I feel like have genuinely changed my life. The 5 things I'm going to be talking about just so happen to be changes that I made all the way back in 2016 when I first lost weight. And I guess they've just been so beneficial for my life that I've kept them up over time. These past 9 years, they are still things I do every day. All right, so before I jump into it, I did want to remind you guys that I will be hosting a weight loss, wellness, fitness, accountability community group on Facebook this January. The main purpose of the group is to provide an online space for people who share similar goals and basically give them a community to talk about their progress, ask questions, share their meals, their exercise, their breakthroughs, their wins, their losses, come for support when things get hard. Basically just a really supportive and empowering community for people who feel like they could benefit from it. So I'm gonna be in it as well. I'm very excited. I have goals for 2024. So definitely check it out if it sounds like something you would benefit from. And just so you know, registration closes December 29th, 2023, and we start January 1st, 2024. Thanks, friends. So the first healthy habit that changed my life, and I think could change your life, is to walk more. I've talked about my journey with walking a lot on my channel. A lot of you know that is basically the only way, that's like the only exercise I do to maintain my weight loss. But I did want to elaborate a little bit because I feel like when I talk about my own walking and I say I walk a lot and I aim to walk more, the assumption that a lot of people have is that I'm always leaving the house for the sole purpose of walking. That by walking more, I am just forcing myself to walk hours and hours and hours a day. But when I say walk more, I don't necessarily mean go outside, walk 30, 40, 50 minutes. I think that's great if you're able to do that. That is something I do. I will go outside just for the purpose of walking, but that's not really the only way I walk more. When I say I walk more, what I mean is I always take the opportunity to walk extra steps when I'm already walking. So for example, say I'm going shopping at the mall, I'm at point A, I know I need to get to point B because that's the store I want to go to. What I will do is I will intentionally take the longer way to get there. My thought process is, well, I'm already here walking, why not go the long way? Why not do a lap before I go to the store? Another good example of this is, say you're going to the grocery store and you're parking your car. Park your car farther away from the entrance. You are already going to be leaving your car to walk to the entrance. So if you can, and if you're able, why not park a little bit farther and get a few extra steps? Obviously, this isn't going to translate to kilometers and kilometers and kilometers of walking, but little steps add up. There are several instances that I run into where I will just slightly adjust my original plan if it means I can walk a little bit more. Another good example of this is, say you're walking to a bus stop. Something I will do is, instead of going to the closest possible stop, I will purposely walk 2 to 3 stops away. It's the same for when I'm traveling home. I will pull the buzzer 1 or 2 stops before my actual stop, and that just gives me the opportunity to kind of walk a little bit more. Walk a little bit more than I would have. I was already gonna walk. I was already gonna have to get off the streetcar and walk to my apartment. So why not walk 100 meters, 200 meters more? All right, so number 2, the second healthy habit that I think can change your life, and that is to get an accountability partner or create an accountability account. Get in the habit of being accountable. So something I know that I really struggle with when it comes to goal setting and executing and actually accomplishing my goals is a lot of the time I make the goals in my head and I never say them out loud. I never tell anyone what my goals are. I never vocalize them. I never get them outside of my head. And as a result, I feel like it's a lot easier to forget about my goals, give up on my goals, abandon my goals. That is something that I felt happened a lot leading up to my weight loss. All my life, I had been big all my life. So there were several times throughout my adolescence, my early adulthood, where I wanted to lose weight. I made the conscious decision that I wanted to lose weight, but I never vocalized it. And because of that, I never really did it. It wasn't until I started sharing with people that I wanted to lose weight that I actually stuck with it. I feel like the accountability really helped me. I know a lot of us have friends who share similar goals, and if that's the case, hit them up, ask them if they want an accountability partner, if they want to team up with you to try to achieve your goals together. This doesn't necessarily mean that you guys have to go to the gym every day together, or you have to do everything the exact same, but something you can do is be like, hey, how about every time we make a meal, we send each other a picture of the meal we made. That way, there will be an added element of accountability. Every time we maybe don't want to make a healthy meal, every time we maybe want to go get a very unhealthy meal, I feel like it's a lot easier to abandon your goals when they've only ever existed in your head because no one knows about them, and it's very easy for you to pretend that you don't know about them either. But when someone else is in the picture, I feel like it's a little different. I feel like there's just that added level of accountability that doesn't exist when you're trying to do things on your own. Now for me, when I started losing weight, I didn't really have an accountability partner. I didn't really have anyone that I felt comfortable to talk about my weight loss with. Not because I didn't have supportive people in my life, but just because I was more embarrassed of opening up about it. I don't know, I just really didn't want to talk to anyone about it until I could prove to myself that it was even possible. So what I did, instead of going to someone and being like, hey, do you want to be my accountability partner? I actually went to social media. I created an Instagram account, which a lot of you know, Jordan Shrinks, and I used that account as a place where I could go to find people with similar goals, maybe ask questions that I didn't feel comfortable enough to ask people in real life. I really utilized the hashtags that were on Instagram. So just like the weight loss hashtags. So like hashtag weight loss, you know what I'm talking about, weight loss hashtags. And I went through those hashtags and I just started following a bunch of random people. And that is what I use for accountability. I would post my food, I would post my workouts, and I really, really, really do feel like that account is what made me successful. I don't know if I would have stuck to my goals if I didn't have a place I could go to talk to people with similar goals. Because like I said, there were many times I wanted to do it before, and the only thing that was really different this time was that I made my account. All right, so moving on to the third healthy habit that I think has changed my life, and that is journaling. Journaling. So when I'm talking about journaling, I don't necessarily only mean like therapeutic journaling. I feel like when we hear about journaling, the main consensus is that we are writing all of our traumas, we are releasing our negative thoughts, we are talking about our experiences, our days, and while that is great, I think that is a great form of journaling. I recommend that as well. That's not the only type of journaling I'm talking about. A type of journaling that really helped me when I was losing weight and still helps me to this day, it has helped me maintain my weight, is I guess what I would call like progress journaling. Basically taking my progress and writing it down so I have a visual representation of what I'm doing. This is something I did when I was actually trying to overcome binge eating. What I did was I took a little piece of paper and I pinned it up beside my door in my bedroom. And at the end of the day, if I was successful with not binge eating, I would give myself a little tick or a little check mark, and I would keep that going for months. And the reason I did that is because I feel like when we are trying to overcome challenges, especially something like binge eating, one mess up or one bad day can really throw us into a negative headspace, into the thought process of I did so well and now I've messed it all up, when really that is not the case. There were many instances when I was trying to overcome binge eating that I messed up. Way too many to count. But something I really think that helped me was recording it. Being able to look at my chart and looking at all the check marks versus the X's really put into perspective how well I was still doing even if I made a mistake. And I feel like that's why journaling is such a good habit to create, because even when things get hard, you will still have the visual representation of your progress. And it really puts into perspective that one bad day is nothing compared to all the progress you've already made. Obviously, like I said, I think that regular journaling, I guess like therapeutic journaling, is really beneficial as well. It's something I do time to time. It's actually one of my 2024 goals to journal every day in the morning. But something I've been doing recently is instead of forcing myself to write in an actual journal, because I feel like that burdens me sometimes, especially if I don't have the journal on me, if I lose it, which is common in my life. Instead of telling myself I have to actually physically write in a journal, I've actually been using my notes app. I will write all my negative thoughts, I will delete them, and for whatever reason, it feels kind of symbolic. It's like I took all these negative thoughts that were in my head, wrote them down, and literally deleted them from existence. All right, so the fourth healthy habit that I think has changed my life, and I think can change your life, and that is to create either a morning or nighttime routine. The reason why I think routine is so important is because I really think it gives us a sense of control over our lives. I myself am a very anxious person, and because of that, I feel like there are many times in life where I feel like I have no control, where I feel like everything is completely spiraling and there's nothing I can do to stop it. So a habit I've picked up to combat that is to implement a nighttime routine. Basically create a series of tasks that I can do every single night that give me a sense of control. Morning and nighttime routines don't need to be difficult. In fact, they probably shouldn't be. You don't need to be adding all these things that you struggle to do every day. My nighttime routine is very, very simple. Usually I'll just go for a little walk because if I had a really stressful day, that helps me wind down. I'll usually use that opportunity to walk to the store to get a sweet treat. And then afterwards, I'll just do my nighttime skincare routine, and that is it. Is it super complex? No. Is it difficult? Definitely not. But like I said, it gives me a little bit of sense of control after a long, stressful day that I really think just helps me unwind and gives me a sense of accomplishment or productivity regardless of how the day went. Something that's important to remember when creating a routine is that at some point, it might not be fun anymore. The routine you originally implemented might get boring. Maybe it starts to become hard, it's not fun anymore. And if that happens, or when that happens, just remind yourself that it is completely okay. Your interests and values and wants and everything else are gonna change all throughout your life. And if a routine isn't working for you anymore, it's not necessarily because you're failing at it, it's just because it needs to be changed. I tried many things before I figured out what works for me, and it still changes from year to year, month to month, sometimes week to week. It changes a lot. All right, guys, so the fifth and final habit that I think changed my life, and that is to stop talking negatively about yourself. I am the first to admit that I am the queen of self-deprecation. I often fall in the really bad habit of talking shit about myself all the time. And the reason why this is such a bad habit to fall into, especially for me, is because I feel like when things actually start to get hard, maybe I start to become really stressed, I start to lose motivation. Those are the moments where I really start to believe all the negative things I've said about myself. Even if you're not a super confident person, I do feel like there's validity in the whole fake it till you make it thing. There have been many instances in my life where I convince myself of the most delulu shit. And suddenly I felt more capable than ever. I really, really do think like positive affirmations about yourself really help. And I think that getting in the habit of only talking positively about yourself, or at least talking neutrally, just not talking really negatively, I think over time you start to see yourself in a more positive light and you start to treat yourself better. Something I like to do when I'm having a negative thought about myself is I try to take the negative thought and reframe it into a positive one. An example being, say I'm having a really bad day and I feel like a failure. Instead of saying I'm a failure, I will replace that with I'm human. And the more I do this, the more I reframe my thoughts, the more I abandon the self-deprecating, self-limiting beliefs, the more I actually start viewing myself in a positive light. So if you're able, I really do think it's important to start treating yourself nicer. You are always listening. All right, guys, well, that is all I really wanted to share today. Those were the 5 healthy habits that I've implemented in my life that I feel have genuinely changed my life. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it resonated with some of you. If there are habits that you have adapted that you think have changed your life, please leave them down in the comments below. I hope you all have a happy and healthy holiday, a happy new year, and I will see you soon.